Hi everyone, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel. Let's talk about the full moon in Aquarius that's happening on August 11th in the sign of Aquarius. What we're going to do today is talk about the astrology first and then go into sign by sign interpretations. I'll take a look at astrology for every sign and then also read tarot. I really want to encourage you guys to watch for your sun, moon, and rising. They're different energy frequencies that you can learn a lot about. And this is a beautiful full moon, and it's attached to the conjunction of Uranus, Mars, and the North Node. And so it's an important one because of that. So I'll explain why in a minute. This is not a live session like we usually do. I'm not able to do a live right now, but I'm excited to post this. So if you want to leave us a comment, I know you guys like to chat in the comments, then please get into the comments down below and say hi. And yeah, I hope you're well. Members, I'm posting like overview of August readings for you guys at this time, cardinal signs I've done, and today will be either mutable or fixed. So there's going to be 3 videos for members with full length by sign videos, and so the cardinal video is done. I'll probably put them in the description of this video, and if you want a reading with me, then just hit the link in the description as well. Okay, so let's talk about this full moon. So first of all, the important thing to acknowledge is I didn't put out specific content for the North Node, Mars, and Uranus conjunction. I was very a lot was going on, and there was a lot to take in. And to be honest, there's a lot of nuance to this conjunction that I want to talk about separate. Even though things were happening during July 31st and August 1st, I feel like they're a preamble to what will happen next, and this full moon is a big part of that, so we'll talk about some of that today. However, in order to explain the full conjunction well, I'm going to do that probably next, and I will have a sign-by-sign component for it as well. So, you know, everything from Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, to BRICS unveiling the new reserve currency, to lots of changes in the world, a lot happening at this time. And so I think we'll see that play out in the coming weeks or even months, even years. For you personally, the conjunction may have had a lot of effect in your life. There may have been things that felt stuck or in some way unapproachable that came to the surface. This is a moment of a breakthrough in your relationships with other people. It is very based on sign, and do watch for sun, moon, and rising because it is going to give you a broader understanding, and especially with these videos to do with this conjunction. And so what happened? So on July 22nd, the moon was in Taurus. This was the real beginning preamble of what's happening now. The conjunction is still technically happening, but the intensity of it has waned a little bit, which is a good thing. I don't know where you were on July 31st and August 1st, but for me, it was like, wow, like my mind was blown, and there was so much energy there with that transit. Not anything good or bad. Some of things may have felt intimidating or stressful. That energy will continue until the full moon in Aquarius. In other words, you may be feeling as though you're being pushed into circumstances and situations that feel uncomfortable for you, or that you may not normally pursue. But I think that if you put on a brave face and if you are truthful and forthright in the situation, it's going to lead to a good outcome for you. So be confident about that. I think that it's sort of, the conjunction is sort of pushing us all to address certain things, to confront certain issues, like I said, to take the steps that we don't normally have the energy for. And so it's kind of an exciting conjunction on that level. And then we also want to recognize that there is haphazard behavior, or I also felt that there was behavior or feelings or the way people were expressing themselves that felt very kind of like a match was lit underneath them. So suddenly something woke up in them and they were more assertive or more forthright and more kind of off the cuff. And so that really got a lot of things going in multiple directions. So, you know, just like United States sending an Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan, it was kind of like, whoa, you're doing this now? I literally was very afraid on that day. And I'm still feeling very tenuous towards that event. But kind of, you know how Nancy Pelosi is. Her energy is kind of like, I don't want to say anything, you know, but she is kind of high strung in a way. And so how she is, I don't know if you see her in the same way I do, but how she is, this kind of high strung energy, is very similar to that. So she's the perfect example of that. Someone on Twitter told me that she's actually 82, and 82 is the actual time in which Uranus goes around the zodiac. So she's on her Uranus return, which many of us will never experience. So, you know, the synchronicity here is intense. So whether it was in your personal life or whether it was in like a public sphere political moment, there's been a lot of like very quick moving, sudden assertion of ego, but not necessarily in like maybe somewhat problematic, but if it was problematic, maybe it was because it was so visceral as opposed to like calculated and thought out and malicious. It was almost like people like speaking from their heart or speaking from like their opinions, whether you agree with what Nancy Pelosi or the United States did by sending her there or not. Just think of it from their point of view. So from their point of view, that was the right thing to do. That's all I want to say. I don't want to debate it, but from their point of view, that was the correct action, right? And so maybe in your personal life or maybe around you, somebody was, you know, had that light lit underneath underneath them, and suddenly they were ready to assert themselves. The same thing goes for BRICS, right? Which is Brazil, I don't know what, Russia, India, China, and I don't know what the S is for, but maybe Iran and Syria, not Syria. But anyway, so there's several countries that are forming the new reserve currency, and it's going to challenge the dollar, and it's based around mineral resources. So that happened on that day. And there was a lot more that we'll talk about in a video dedicated to this, but you want to look at all those energies in the world and be like, you know, that was really intense sort of breakthrough moment. And so maybe you had your breakthrough moment, or maybe someone around you did, or maybe you saw people acting kind of maybe crazy, or it's not crazy. It's like a energy of, you know, being kind of woken up and suddenly like, I'm going to go do this, you know, and like nothing can stop them. So very bullheaded sort of energy. And so we'll talk about the implications of that, but suffice it to say that the beginning of the month may have started with that kind of like somewhat irrational and yet very maybe somewhat irrational from the outside perspective, but not to the person or persons who were initiating whatever they were initiating, if that makes sense. So you may have been sitting on the sideline scratching your head saying like what they're up to, and maybe it was not logical, maybe it was a fallacy, like it wasn't really adding up, but they were convinced that what they were saying and doing was completely on point. That's what I think about the whole thing. I'm not trying to point fingers. There could be a disconnect. There could be a little bit of blindness. But you know, who's to judge? It's kind of like some kind of crazy moment in which you do the wrong thing, but the right thing happens as a consequence thereof. And so that produced a lot of tension. That's what I'll say about it. And then we'll go into a deeper analysis of this in another video. But then, and so where was I? so it could have been that transcendent moment of sort of chaos that actually leads to the right thing happening. Sometimes when you do the right thing over and over again, you can get in a rut, and this energy can push through. And so this energy initiated at the beginning of August and will grow and mature until August 11th when we have this full moon. And something very important associated with that conjunction will happen on that full moon in Aquarius, which is on August 11th, and that's what we're here to talk about. So it's been an exciting thing to watch. The new moon happened on the 28th, so right before that, right when all this was starting. And so it's a very like high energy sort of time. But like I said, this energy, that's what I was trying to say, may have brought up tension. So it's not necessarily comfortable, whatever you're going through, right? Whatever's happening might be challenging your status quo, or there may be no logic around it. Like, I think a lot of people watch Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan and saying, like, what the heck are you doing? Not to judge the situation in any way, but, you know, at this time and with this astrology, like, what the heck are you doing? You're kind of, you know, off the chain. So a lot of people were watching on the sidelines, whether they knew astrology or not. They were probably watching that as chaos unraveling. So let's hope that it's for the best. Let's hope it's for a good, there's like a genius element to it here. So maybe there's some truth about it that we're not seeing. Maybe there's a synchronicity about it that needed to happen, but definitely chaos. So that chaos may have produced for you a significant stress, and since then the energy has risen and risen and risen. On August 5th, the moon was with the south node. So that's significant because this overall energy is that of a grand cross. And especially from the middle of August, when the sun moves up in Leo, that's more defined as such. When the conjunction happened, it was more of a T-square, which is half of a grand cross on Saturn. That's where the full moon is happening. But now by mid-August, we're seeing this full grand cross. So the moon reaches the south node by about August 5th. And so you see a truth. There's a truth there. Something's dug up. Something in relation to all this has shown up. And again, I'll go through that in more detail or more focused on it when I do the North Node Uranus and Mars conjunction. But the focus of the full moon, and then we have a cathartic moment. And cathartic can be positive or negative. I think it's going to come with a lot of discomfort because there is a grand cross in the fixed sign. So it's like from one position to the next, to the next, to the next. So it's kind of like baseball, hitting each of the bases in terms of things maturing and coming into themselves. Pay attention to your thoughts as we're approaching this full moon. Maybe journal your thoughts or pay attention to what you're thinking or what you're experiencing. Some of these things may be wonderful, breakthrough moments in love, or finding a truth within yourself. I feel like I found a new side to my personality, or I feel like I've become like a more whole person. Like I've taken hold over an aspect of myself and kind of fully stepped into it. It's been kind of exciting that way. And so it doesn't have to be all good or all bad. But I think that the energy is very challenging and is wanting a lot of participation from you with it. So when the full moon happens, whatever is happening, whatever one of these things that I've mentioned is going on, you're going to have your transcendent moment and you're going to have catharsis around the whole issue. So pay attention to that time and make sure that if you are feeling under the pressure of this Grand Cross energy, that you're very patient with it and that you do not allow it to psych you out, like make you feel messed up or make you feel vulnerable to its pressures. And I think that keep going in moving forward one step ahead of the next. And so when the full moon happens, you will have another event that happens along the lines of whatever started at the beginning of August. So pay attention and wait for an outcome. or one step outcome. So at first I'm like, oh, there's the big outcome right there with the full moon. But then I dug a little bit deeper. So let me take a look at the next kind of thing I found. So this is moving forward to August 18th. And I really like this here. So remember how I mentioned that this all started, maybe I didn't mention, I filmed this a couple times, the intro, so I may have mentioned it here, maybe I didn't. But this whole transit started on July 22nd when the moon was in Taurus. That activated it. By August 18th, the moon will be Taurus again. And so I feel like this is going to be the moment in which something happens. This could be the consequence of Nancy's trip can come to pass, or maybe some event around the BRICS and the monetary policy changes that are happening, or many of the other things. And I think that before then, I will do a video on the North Node conjunction to explain that. Meanwhile, we have this grand trine that develops alongside it. So Mercury moves up into Virgo at 21 degrees, past its exaltation point, and is still exalted in the sign of Virgo, the ruler of Virgo. And then that trines the moon and passes Uranus and trines Mars, and then that all trines Pluto. So we have that trifecta energy, right? So when they do this, that's what they're talking about in a way. So there's a trifecta of energy in Earth. And so I feel like that will be our transcendent moment. And let me define transcendent moment so you sort of understand what's going on. Transcendent means neutral. It doesn't mean good or bad. So it can lead to positive outcomes, or if some chaos happened, then we may see a consequence of that. I won't get into that any deeper than just to say it as such, and we'll talk about that more on the next video, the Uranus North Node Mars conjunction. Okay, so I want you first and foremost to think of this full moon as a full moon for the catharsis of the conjunction. So something's really growing until August 11th and will come to pass. Now let's talk about some of the other nuances of this full moon. As I just mentioned, Mercury is approaching its exaltation point. Mercury's exaltation point is the 15th. So that's going to happen on the 13th of August. And so, yes, I think that looks quite nice, actually. I think that there will be a real opportunity to get stories straight and say the right things, address concerns. For August 13th, sorry, not the 15th, try to make sure to give an opportunity to talk whatever you need to talk about in whatever situation you're in. If there's a lack of confusion if there's too much confusion, in a situation that involves you, this will give you an opportunity to say your piece. So pay attention to that. This is August 13th. But on August 11th, Mercury is still at 12 degrees of Virgo. So it's not time to speak about it quite yet. Okay, so what are we seeing with the full moon? The full moon is happening at 19 degrees of Aquarius. And so the sun is at 19 degrees of Leo. This is the second decan of Aquarius, the second part, and that's ruled by Mercury in traditional and modern astrology. So that's why I referred to Mercury at first. The one thing to consider, since Mercury is such a big part of this full moon, is that Mercury is actually forming a trine to Uranus as this is happening. So here we see the synchronicity between the conjunction, and now Mercury is activated and the full moon is happening in a decan that Mercury rules, right? And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology and Uranus in modern astrology. And Saturn and Uranus are now applying, so they're increasing in a square. And this is a square that has really came up last year. So there was 3 times in which Uranus and Saturn squared last year, and now they're forming it again. What does that mean? There's definitely a tension between the old and the new. You may have experienced that somewhere around August 5th or 6th. That was where you may have had an inside scoop as to the tensions that are going on. There's a real push here towards new opportunities, new directions, new ways of being you. But there will be people and circumstances around you that are going to be resistant at this time. And I think that you have to, when, how do you say this? Respectfully decline or respectfully step aside. So it's not necessarily, flaunting your good success or your good opportunity in anybody's face, but it's more like, people will act up when you are doing well and when you're growing and when you're being prosperous and successful. Other people will not like that. And so there's a whole gamut of behaviors that people who begrudge your success may participate in: slander, gossip, and all sorts of drawing you into bad situations. So watch your back through this time and into the full moon. So don't get confused between people's bad behavior and what's going on for you. And I think that with this full moon and so much happening, make sure not to misidentify one for the other. So see what's happening truly for you, and other people meddling or getting somehow involved or triggered by the fact that you're instigating change or you're experiencing change and they don't feel comfortable with it. So it's none of their business, but be kind, be humble, be gracious, and allow them to, have their moment of low self-esteem or whatever it is. The sun is actually squaring Uranus as well. So there's a lot of tension on the change that is happening around the full moon. So that's important to sort of see or pay attention to as well. So there's a lot of tension with this full moon, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. And I think that the actual outcome will come between August 18th and August 19th. And it's, like I said, this is actually a good order to do this reading about this full moon, because the conjunction, it was too soon to say when the conjunction happened, what would transpire. And now that we've seen some of the things come up, now we're seeing the energy, and now we can predict well moving forward. So I think that it's actually a really good thing to talk about at this time. So Saturn squaring Uranus, the sun is squaring Uranus, Mercury is trining Uranus, and the full moon is happening in Aquarius that's ruled by Uranus. So there's a lot of, and Uranus is in detriment in Taurus. Let's always remember that. So this is it's a very high pressure moment of change for you at this time. And don't allow people like I said, people deal with change in many ways. It may not be petty and may not be, it may not be petty, or it may not be jealousy, so to speak, but it may be an inability to deal with change or transformation, in which case really I have like a teacher's mentality where I try to help other people along. And so sometimes that's not the right thing to do. So what I'm advising you here is to take a step back and not fully engage this energy. So I think that's a really good energy check-in, and I'm gonna now talk about this through all the signs, but without actually, how do I say it? Without actually, how do I say this? Without actually, going into the details for everyone. Sorry, I just had to switch the chart so I can show you sign by sign answers. So let's get into it, and I hope you guys have a good full moon. Okay, so first we have Leo. So happy birthday, Leos. I'm glad that I could do this for you at this time. Let's take a look at your astrology for Leo for the full moon, which is opposite where the sun is at this time. If you were born right around this time, this is a huge full moon for you. So pay attention to this. It has to do with relationships, first things first, with this full moon for Leo, it feels like there's a real opportunity for Leos to work out a relationship situation at this time. So relationship patterns, and especially things that you need to work through, will get a boost. So you've been going through a long transit of Saturn in your 7th house and may have felt as though relationships have been pushed into some kind of, magnifying glass or very intense scrutiny. And with this full moon, things may happen that will really push things along or work things out for you and help you work through whatever is that's going on. Okay, so we have for your kind of dice roll, I like to do a dice roll at the beginning. I forgot, because this is sort of I'm still playing around with format. So we have South Node in Gemini. So that's going to be 8 years from now, or 8 years or 11 years ago, because the North Node was just in Gemini last year. So, and in the 4th house. Okay. So you don't have to have this placement for this to be a message to you, but I have a feeling that this has to do a lot with something to do possibly with like your early development, siblings, and kind of like your relationships with your siblings. And I know this isn't your 4th house. I'm just reading that position on its own. So there could be some things coming up from the past, from your childhood, from siblings and your relationships with them. So like I mentioned, there could be, with this full moon, a massive catharsis with regard to relationships for you, but also pay attention to what's going on in terms of your career. Some of you might be going through something at work in which requires from you a lot of attention, or requires from you a lot of presence. And so, so requires from you a lot of attention or presence, or you may be drawn into an uncomfortable conversation, like a meeting that you're being forced into, especially with another person that might be addressing a lot of key issues. If you have someone at work who's being difficult and maybe who's connected, not literally connected, but the energy of which is connected to your siblings, that might come up as well at this time. So pay attention to your relationships. You might be forced into an uncomfortable process. But I think that overall with this full moon, there's a really nice catharsis of your relationships in a transcendent moment. You might be feeling overall, Leo, this is just a heads up, before, like now that Jupiter's gone retrograde, well, it's still there. Overall, I feel like at this time, your perception of the world might be influenced by Chiron and Aries and Jupiter in your 9th house, which means that you may have a sensitive perception of the world. So be careful with that. In other words, you may be tired and your perception of the world may be tired. And this to me suggests that this could involve like even childhood experiences. So mentally you may be feeling exhausted or drained at this time. And before I finish up the astrology part, I just want to mention that by August 15th, I believe it's 15th, Mercury will reach the 15th degree of Virgo, which is the exaltation point in the exalted sign. So that will be a boon for you financially. Something good will come out. My initial take of looking at this, I'm like, something really good is going to happen for you at work. But I think you're going to have to get through some difficulties in order to be able to achieve that, like facing a difficult boss or facing a difficult coworker that will really challenge something to do with your that will really challenge something to do with your sorry, I'm getting downloads, to do with your relationship patterns. So you may feel like the person's doing the exact things that are difficult for you, or the person that kind of irks you or whatever is doing stuff. So be patient. There's really good outcomes. And I do agree that I feel like this is a moment of tension for a really positive outcome, especially material. And then we have the 8 of Swords, which is feeling like in the dark or in being unsure about something in this case. And then we have, yeah, the devil. I do have a feeling that there's some tension around you that's hard to navigate. Somebody's behaving in a way that's difficult for you, or touching upon patterns from your childhood or anything else. And then we have Knight of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, secondary transits in air, Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. And then we have the Ace of Swords. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so I have a feeling that somebody might bring you news through this time, or bring something to you, an important conversation. You may be feeling betrayed by someone throughout this also. But I think that that's also important for you to figure out where you stand and where others stand. So if that's happening for you, I'm sorry, but I do feel like it's you're addressing the issues. I think some of you may have persisted in situations too long, which is a pattern for Leo. There's also a feeling, that's why I mentioned this energy here in the 9th house. There's a feeling here of Leo feeling vulnerable from exhaustion. So from lots of experiences happening at this time, you may be feeling particularly vulnerable, or particularly just tired, after not literally tired like with sleep, but tired emotionally or mentally tired. You've been worn on, and so you felt that exhaustion has come up. Somebody comes through with a message. It's either while you're upset, or the message itself will make you upset. So somebody's coming through with a message, but I have a feel, or maybe there's some compassion, but I feel more like less that it's compassion and more that there's something else. There's something that is coming up that does not feel well, but you have to get through, and it's possibly something you've avoided, maybe because of childhood experiences, that it's time to address now. Okay, so let's do the next sign. Thanks, Leo. Have a happy birthday. Okay, so then we have Pisces, which is the Hanging Man. So hi, Pisces. It's nice to see you guys come up first. I'm filming this just like a live. So let's do your astrology next. Okay, Pisces. Let's roll the dice first, because I like to ground with that. So we have Neptune in Libra. Neptune in Libra. Does anybody have Neptune? No, that's like 100 and something, 90 years ago, right? It's been a minute. So no Neptune in Libras. No, it's maybe not 100 years ago. Sorry. It must be the 60s. I'm not making fun of anyone, I promise. But it's a while ago. Neptune in Libra in the 3rd house. That was not shade, I promise. I hope you're laughing with me if you have Neptune in Libra. But it's been a while. It's been a minute. So 50s or 60s, yes? Is that when it happened? Or maybe that feels like too long ago. Maybe like 60s? I don't know. You tell me. It must be 60s, right? It's in the 60s. So yeah, no shade to anyone who has this. It's in the 3rd house. So Neptune and Libra in the 3rd house, maybe not knowing where people around you stand, or maybe not knowing what's going on in your immediate environment. Let's have a look at what's going on. Oh, okay. So in your 3rd house, we have North Node, Uranus, and Mars in Taurus. And so that's very strong for you, right? It's kind of like an understated energy, this conjunction that happened, but it may have changed your immediate surroundings in a fundamental way. And so this full moon in Aquarius is going to lead to a real like growth underneath the surface. So there's going to be a lot of change, but it's not going to be easily apparent. It's not going to be right on, like literal. It's going to be very subtle. It's going to be sort of quiet and private, but there's a real change that's going on here, and I think you feel it, and I think you perceive it. But whatever instigated with that conjunction has come into is going to come into full maturity. And like I said in the intro, August 18th is going to be a very powerful moment for you, in which whatever started around July 22nd is going to come into full circle. So pay attention to that. That's a very important date. The full moon, like I said, is in your 12th house. It's conjunct Saturn. This is Saturn in the 12th house is like a lot of introspective thinking. So until it leaves next year, you're going to be going through big doses of that, which means taking a step away and thinking by yourself about things that happened or how you see the world and things like that. So be patient with it. And I think that it's going to evoke for you a lot of personal thoughts and recollections, lots of really thinking about things. Like I said for the previous sign, this isn't really a full moon message, but I think financially feeling vulnerable at this time, feeling like money can come and go very easily in your life, which means emphasizing the go. Like you might be feeling as though like money is fleeting at times or that it's unpredictable. So you might be feeling uncomfortable with this full moon. But there is this kind of push for you. It's like, what can I change in my environment? There's always that advice, like what is within arm's reach that I can change in my environment? And what if there's nothing within arm's reach, right? And so there's this feeling of the desire for some kind of immediate change, but maybe some frustrations with regard to knowing where it's going to come from or how. And that's very Neptunian, right? Neptune's your ruler. It's like, it's not very clear what the solution is at this time. So in other words, you might be feeling some, pressure to change, or you might be feeling a pressure to transform certain things. But I would wait for you until, if I were you, I would wait for August 18th. And I think you'll get a much clearer version. And also do look back on August 5th to see how the South Node was activated, because that was a part of that whole journey of the moon. That has now sat in your 12th house. That is now on August 11th in your 12th house. So pay attention to all this and do take some time for reflection to think about where you are. So we have first the Empress. Okay. Let's see what's next. And then we have the Nine of Rods, which is... here it looks very successful. It looks like the Six of Rods. That's why I hesitated. And then we have the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, secondary transit in fire, Sagittarius or Aries. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. And then we have the Justice card. And then we have the Knight of Swords, Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. Okay, so let's see what's going on for Pisces. I have a feeling that there's people that are doing things around you that you feel isolated from. People around you are taking initiative in ways that you may feel that you wouldn't do it that way. And this might be allies. This may be people who are, your friends, or people who you trust a lot. Or some people who have an influence on you, whose decisions have an influence on you. And so you may feel alienated from their decision making. I feel like they're very, very intent on what they're going to do. This energy for me, for you, this full moon is like, sit it out and wait it out. And I think that the outcome will come around August 18th or 19th as the moon passes in Taurus. And I think if you feel really uncomfortable with what's going on, if the situation's bad, then I feel like maybe by August 18th there might be a turning of the tide, but there's no promise on that. It's very unexpected what will happen. But if you feel like you're in a situation you don't want, before speaking up, you might want to wait until August 18th, because some things may resolve themselves on their own accord, so you may not have to say anything. The other thing that I just noticed is the energy for friendships and social relationships, because we have so many, tarot cards that are from like interactive, like court cards energy. There's going to be an emphasis by August 18th on this grand trine, and that's going to be in your relationship houses. And I really like Mercury and Virgo in this position. Mercury's about to go retrograde at the beginning of September. And so Mercury in Virgo is very powerful. It's in rulership. And on August 15th, it will hit the magical 15th degree, which is the exaltation point. And that's very exciting for you because it's going to start forming this grand trine energy between Pluto and Mars and Uranus. So there will be spontaneous conversations that you may begin with people around that time, in which there's the things that you feel kept from, the things that you feel kept from, or that are not clarified, that are isolating you, how they're making decisions outside of your control. You may have an opportunity to address their behavior. Okay? So, in other words, sit tight, Pisces, do your internal changes, and the outcomes are coming soon. Okay? So, I'm really glad I got to read for you second today. That's exciting. Okay, so let's see the next sign. The next sign is Aquarius. Hey, Aquarius. So Aquarius is one of the hot spots for this full moon. It's a full moon in Aquarius, so that makes sense. But let me switch the chart up so we can take a look at it a little bit closer. So yeah, 19 degrees of Aquarius in your first house. For Aquarians, more than anything else, I think the fact that it's together with Saturn in your first house is going to be very like completion of a cycle type moment, a completion of a cycle. Saturn has been in your first house. When Saturn goes through our first house, we go through it. There's criticism, there's circumspection, there's, judgment, all sorts of different things that's thrown at us, justifiably or not. And I think that it's a lot to bear for the 2.5 years. It's a lot. So if you have Sun, Moon, Rising, Aquarius, this is hitting you on that level. And the full moon in some way will be maybe your response, but also maybe kind of like your conclusion to whatever's been happening. Whoever's been criticizing you, whoever's been, kind of stating their opinions, you've taken that on. You've had to because of Saturn. So whether this is a willful sharing of information or not, and there's been like a real kind of answer that's been given. Okay, so we have the Pluto in Taurus. That happened. Pluto was in Taurus during World War II, I believe, or the Great Depression. Was it? No, I think I'm making that shit up. Sorry. Or maybe. Is it? No, it was a while ago. It was maybe turn of the century. Sorry. So anyway, it was probably in the 19th century, because it was Pluto in Cancer, right? And Pluto in Gemini and Taurus, maybe World War I. Something like that. It's been a while. But Pluto in Taurus, and then in the 6th house. So 6th house is a very important house in astrology. And I think it's really like hardly understood or focused on, because it's like work and health and those kinds of things. But there's a lot of nuance there. It's like an intense energy. So Pluto in Taurus for Aquarius, I just feel like maybe you've been put under quite a lot of pressure because of this Saturn transit. And I feel like maybe there's a time here with this full moon, not for your response, but for you to finally like come to terms with what was said. So, when someone blurts something out at you and it's the intensity of what they say overpowers the meaning of what they said. So maybe in this situation, it's that shaking off moment. It's like, you said actually this. And so there's 2 layers of conversation, right? There's the intonation, like the tone and the intensity of what a person is saying. And then there's like the literal level. And so it feels as though maybe there was some kind of like an intense energy that was directed at you, some harsh criticism or something was said, and you've recaptured. There's an energy of regaining power here and seeing it for what it was. So if someone was critical of you, it was the intensity of how they said it that was the disarming factor, and they did that probably subconsciously, at least on purpose. And so now is the time when you actually looking at the nuts and bolts of what was said and how it applies. So there's this, there's definitely this moment of regaining composure. So that's really exciting. And like I said in the intro, I think it's going to be very interesting on August 18th when the moon enters into Taurus, because that's when it's going to activate a lot of the nuanced energy that's happening behind the scenes with Mercury in the 8th house and Pluto in the 12th house. So look forward to that. So in other words, what I'm saying overall to everyone is that there's like a big energy here in the first house, but the real fallout. So this is the fallout of the conjunction that happened on August 1st or July 31st, whatever. And then when the moon reaches Taurus again on August 18th, there's going to be a fallout of the moon energy. So it's like it's like skipping on stones. And so some of these energies may feel very uncomfortable. Like, why are they asking me this? What do they want? And there's, for you specifically, there's a lot happening behind the scenes that's really tied into the next decade for you. So don't sweat the small stuff. One of the things that people should know in general, and I should probably make some short form content around this, when the big planets are in your 12th house, yes, there's things coming up for you to work through. But the thing is that they're like, it's less about the detail. With Mars and Venus and Mercury, you have to be there really quick with an answer. But with Pluto, Uranus, Neptune or so, you can be a little bit slower. So you're not in a rush to address whatever is happening. However, because Mercury is in your 8th house, there could be some kind of a very quick change. And I think you're aware of this. So whatever you're aware of now, don't back off of this energy. Don't become shy. Don't become bashful. Just make sure that you're with it. Okay? So now let's take a look at your tarot cards. So Pluto in Taurus feels very powerful in the 6th house and very kind of like take charge of whatever it is that you're perceiving. It's clear vision. So we have the world first, which is Neptune, and then we have Pluto, which is Capricorn. And then we have the Temperance card, which is Sagittarius. Okay. So basically, I have a feeling that this is Capricorn energy, and I would interpret this more as a Capricorn energy, which is Pluto in your 12th house, than something nefarious like the devil. I have a feeling that you're seeing for yourself some kind of place to which you want to get to in life in general. And it starts in the home. So we're not talking about the world abroad. We're just talking about what's going on around you. And you're navigating the maze around the people that you know and other types of situations to kind of come to realization about a bigger, you have a bigger life vision for yourself at this time. But in the immediate moment, it involves your house, your home, your immediate surroundings that you're trying to change. So this is saying go slow in your immediate surroundings as you step into preparing yourself for Pluto in Aquarius. That's very rare, once every 250 years, right? So that we're very excited for it. Then we have the 10 of Cups. And then we have the 5 of Wands. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles, which is some kind of good outcome. You're facing some degree of tension for where you want to go and what you want to achieve, but I don't think you should allow that to discourage you or stop you. And I think that maybe this is the moon with Saturn. You really seeing that your vision towards where you want to be and what you want to achieve should not be spoiled by other people's resistance to your changes. So whatever it is that they're giving you, this is suggesting that this may even be people close to you, and this is suggesting this as well. So many transits here in the third and fourth house. But I think that the outcome of this is your success. So you need to really stick to your guns and do what you're doing, because it's going to yield for you wonderful things. So be patient, Aquarius. You're going in a good direction. And I think that you're seeing for yourself a very particular path that will involve some kind of change and some kind of bringing out to the forefront something that is behind a curtain at this time that's not self-apparent. Okay, so let's see the next sign. I'm pulling them because I don't think I shuffled them well, so I'm going to pull them from the middle. 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure I have all of them. Ooh, I'm missing a card. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Yep. Okay. So next is Gemini. Hi, Gemini. Welcome to my channel. Let's take a look at this energy for you. It's kind of peaceful doing it alone, but I miss you guys, just so you know. Okay, Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look at this full moon. Oh, it's in your 9th house. Okay. So Pluto in Pisces. Pluto in Pisces is, you know, we're in the age of Pisces. Pluto in Pisces is crazy. It's coming up after the age of Aquarius, so hopefully I'll live to see it. After Pluto in Aquarius. And then we have, oh shoot, I forgot which one it was. Sorry. I think it wasn't the 6th house. I don't remember. You guys are not going to like the fact that I did that, but I literally wasn't paying attention to it. Okay, so Pluto and Pisces in the 6th house. That's not the placement in your chart. I have a feeling for that around you is power that is not self-evident. There's stuff going on behind the scenes, or there's some kind of hidden reality that's around you at this time, Gemini, and it has influence on you, but it's not in front. It's not in front of you, and so it's hard to access. So this isn't in your chart because your chart, the 6th house, is Scorpio, but this may have to do with some like hidden truths or hidden realities, or, you know, things that are not clear, things that are not front and center. Okay, so let's talk about the astrology of this full moon, because it's kind of interesting for you. I think for you, it's a big break. For you, this is when things come out into the open. I think a lot's been happening in private that maybe you haven't said or maybe hasn't been talked about, but when the moon moves to this position, whatever has been happening in a private sense is going to become very public. And once again, it will be taken back into the private realm for when the moon moves into Taurus on August 18th. So it's not going to be out for public long, but for a moment, there's going to be bringing some kind of truth out into the open for you. And I think it's going to work really well with your energy. I do have a feeling this tangential energy is really coming up for everybody. There could be pressure from friends through this time, and this isn't like particularly aspecting the full moon or anything, but there could be like a lot of mishmash with your friends. There could be a lot of inconsistencies, or you're feeling very tenuous towards certain friends or social groups at this time. You're not sure where you stand. Okay, so the full moon is happening here in your 9th house, and I think that Mercury is like an important thing. I have a feeling that there's a real moment of something that's been happening behind the scenes becoming open, and it may involve for you talking to your family about it, and it's very important that you do that. Remember that I mentioned on August 15th that Mercury enters the 15th degree of Virgo. That's very important because that's going to be the exaltation point, the 1 degree in the 360 degrees in which Mercury is exalted. very important. Talk to your family about what's going on, whoever is your ally, whatever is trusted. Have those conversations about what you want. If something's been going on in a private sphere for you, there really feels like there's something with a lot of tension that's going on behind the scenes for you. So there would be moments in which you can bring that into the open, or it comes out into the open. But then on August 18th, when Mercury is maybe a little bit more up in Virgo and creating the grand trine to Mars and Pluto, there could be events that in some way get complicated or more intense, or there's more happening behind the scenes, for good or bad. There's just a lot of intensity that's not necessarily available for, it's private. It's not in the public. Okay. So let's see. So yeah, I can see that now. I see this connection, that there's like a lot going on there that is hidden, that is behind the scenes, that is not, you may know about it or you may not. And there will be those moments, like I said, what did I say? The August 11th, the full moon, and then also August 15th. August 15th is the date you want to talk to your family about whatever is going on. Tell them the truth, or tell them, whatever needs to be said. There's also a lot of rest. I like this. Oh, we have Queen of Pentacles, Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, and rest. And then we have the Nine of Rods, which is some kind of a protective energy, or drawing away. In the 12th house, there's always this drawing away energy when things are going on. So which means withdrawing in a certain way to deal with things. There could be someone around you who is resting at this time or not available as much. They could be, someone who you rely on who's somewhat detached for the time being. It's a very like entropy sort of energy here, which means that I think that especially for an active transit like Uranus, North Node, and Mars, it feels very antithetical. It just feels very opposite. But this Mars and the nine of Wands, it just feels as though like there's a quietude around what's happening. There's things behind the scenes. And then we have the Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Scorpio. And then we have the Three of Rods. And then we have the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So we have an outcome. You're waiting for an answer from somebody. This is a very nice energy here in the water signs. There's someone coming through. You're waiting for an answer towards something. Something is coming through with it just feels like an unsatisfied urge for an answer, an unsatisfied response. That there's something hidden, there's something separate, that there's something that there's something behind the scenes or hidden, and that you're waiting for something that's not coming as fast as you want it to be. So it feels like you're detached from something that you truly want an answer for. The King of Cups to me suggests that there will be some kind of energy that comes through with truth, but with Neptune in your 10th house, I just feel like there's resistance. It's very much like waiting in stasis, and maybe things happening behind the scenes, but not necessarily having the true information about it. And to be honest, and I'm not trying to be disparaging, when I see this King of Cups, I'm not getting the best vibe. I'm not getting the best vibe of like this person is coming with truth and everything will be awesome. I'm actually seeing deception. I'm feeling like there could be ulterior motives. This is a moment of discomfort for you, for sure. But I'm here to encourage you to stay positive through it. This transit lasts about a month, and you need to sort of kind of tough it out and be strong through it. I think that the part of the problem is that they are being kept from some truth. And so you will have moments to access it, but they're not going to be consistent enough or stable enough for you to continue. And so it's just waiting for an answer. So you go for a job interview, so you know, and you're just waiting for an answer and waiting for, and in that state of waiting. I waited for a job confirmation for like a month and a half once when I was in school, and then the response was like haphazard. It was very frustrating. That's what it reminds me of. And then even when this answer comes, I wonder if this is it feels like an answer for the purpose, for the sake of an answer, as opposed to like a genuine conclusion to something. So your patience is going to be tested with regard to finding out what the outcome to this is. But I think that you'll have like moments of illumination, like maybe this full moon. Okay, so next card or next sign is Libra. Hey, Libra. It's such an interesting stack up front. I don't feel I've read these signs in the beginning at all, ever. And I just did 3 air signs. So this is the last air sign we're doing for the full moon. So that's kind of cool, kind of nice. Libra, your full moon is in the 5th house. So that's love, romance, relationships. So let's take a look at it in a minute. Let's see. So we have Jupiter in Gemini. How do you guys feel about Jupiter and Gemini? Okay. In the 11th house? Oh, I like it in the 11th house. I'm not sure if I like Jupiter and Gemini so much, but I do like it a lot in the 11th house. Not if you have it, I'm not saying that about you, but I don't know if it's like a nice one to have, like if you had Jupiter and Gemini, if your experience is good with it. But then the 11th house is hypersocial, very, very strong socially. And what are we seeing in Libra? Sun and Venus entering into Leo on August 11th, the same day as the full moon in your 11th house, your social house. So lots of conversations, lots of cool energy, and it's pretty exciting. So yes. Oh, by the 11th house, right? I threw myself. So yes, definitely a very positive energy for you. I think that socially things are going to really pick up, and the Sun and Venus, you're just going to be very socially active. Now, this Mars transit that's coming up is starting on August 20th, right? 20th, right? And so Mars will be in Gemini for the rest of the year. And so that will be quite a pickup of things happening around you, invitations, conversations, instigating, lots of positive action. And so that will be very exciting. So I'm seeing overall a trend of picking up the pace for Libra, and in a really fun way that I hope you enjoy. It's going to be socially cool, and it feels better for social things as opposed to like very intense like one-on-one things. So close friends or romantic relationships may be understated at this time. Well, it's going to be a time in which your social life is emphasized in like a very playful way. So that's exciting. The full moon itself is in your 5th house. This may come to, I'm not trying to worry anybody, but for some of you, especially if you're in the last stages of a relationship, that relationship may come to an end with this full moon. And like I said in the intro, the full moon energy may actually play out right until August 18th. So it may not be until August 18th that you see the truth. One thing that could potentially happen for people, and especially this is more of the dating side of things as opposed to like the, you know, being like married or partnered up. But in the dating side of things, somebody might not be quick to return your calls or hold back from talking to you. And so you may not get an answer. So that may begin around the full moon, but by about the 18th, I hate this energy, by the way, if somebody's keeping you on silent for like a couple months or a couple weeks or even a few days, and then gets back to you with whatever they were thinking all along. I think it's a very cowardly way to treat another person, but it is feeling like it could potentially happen that way, where somebody's figuring something out. I mean, I understand people need to figure things out, but I wish that they could do it sooner. Impatient, maybe. But anyway, so we have this kind of energy of just waiting for an outcome on an answer with regard to a relationship. But for you, the conjunction really signified a lot of change, a lot of abrupt change, pushing forward in a new direction. And so I think essentially it feels like walking into a room with a lot of people in it. And it feels like you were in a hallway and then this conjunction happened and you essentially walked into a room with tons of people with all these new relationships. And so maybe something close to you is being worked itself out, like a relationship is separating maybe, or in some cases, like a truth is emerging between the two of you. But it really does feel like, especially, this isn't people with healthy relationships. This is for people who are, you know, on the brink of, you know, a breakup anyway. But I think this will probably end up in separation of some type. And for the purpose of you going in a new direction, Libra, the urge to be around new people and new situations for you is really intense. So, and it's very rewarding. So there's a lot of positive reinforcement for you to go in a different direction at this time. So we have the 9 of Cups first. 9 of Cups, which is Jupiter in Pisces. And then we have the Page of Swords. And then we have the Ace of Wands. This is coming up for a lot of people. That has that, I know it's a wand card, but it does really have that energy with it. It's kind of like Nancy Pelosi holding an Ace of Wands, the conjunction between Uranus and the North Node and Mars, not with her nervous energy, yes. And then we have the Star. I'm not picking on anyone. I'm really trying not to be, you know, hurtful to anybody's perception. Then we have the King of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries. And then we have the 8 of Swords. Yeah, so there's a truth being kept from you, but a truth is coming, Libra. I have a feeling that there's much better things around you that are developing at this time, especially in partnerships. The thing that you feel very vulnerable about may actually turn out to be something good. So, like, yeah, a relationship with someone, a very truthful relationship with someone to count on. But I think it's too soon to tell. Yeah, well, it's not too soon to tell from our perspective, like tarot cards and astrology, but you still have to allow that relationship to grow a bit more. I have a feeling that you want to say something anyway. You want to begin something new in a new direction, but there's a situation that's kind of drowning you out. And so you may not be saying what you intend anyway, and the intensity of the situation may be distracting from the fact you don't want to be there anymore either. And this could be romance, or it could be relationships, or it could be work, some kind of social setting in which you really are done with something and there's much better things for you to look forward to. And this person may be a conduit for you, this King of Wands. It could be a male or female, Sag, Leo, or Aries, sun, moon, rising, right? But a fiery type of person, a connecting point, somebody who introduces you to others, sends you their way, and gives introductions. But I think in the meantime, you're still caught up in the past, and we're seeing this square a lot right now, right? Saturn square Uranus, the same thing as 2021. And so it's not coming up as intensely as last year, but we're getting little blurbs of it here and there. There's a little bit of hostility. There's a reminder that not all is good, but I think a lot of it's good for you at this time. There's a lot to look forward to. So in other words, when these things come up that feel like the unknown, like somebody's not calling you back to tell you some information that you're very invested in, don't let that overshadow the really good things going on right now. And definitely spend time with your friends and people who you get along with, people who you have fun with. Like, look to them, and you'll have a good time. I also say this with this full moon, if you're dealing with gossip, or if you're dealing with some kind of like gossip, like somebody saying things about you that are not true, or slander, right? Then you are may come to clarity at this time. And in fact, with the full moon is a really good time to address that clarity. So bring it out into the open and be truthful about what happened, right? Or whatever your experience is. Okay, so now let's see the next sign. We have Aries. Such an interesting set up front. So we have Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising. Welcome, Aries. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm excited whenever I read for Aries. I want you guys to have fun, and I want you guys to enjoy my videos. Okay, so we have the 6th house. The 6th house is coming up a lot. I think in the first time it came up, I was like, the 6th house is very important. And ever since then, it's been coming up. So we have Pluto in Scorpio, or Uranus, excuse me, in Scorpio. That's the late 70s, early 80s transit. Uranus in Scorpio. I was looking through the viewfinder. Camera's getting tired from focusing. Okay, so Uranus in Scorpio in the 6th house. That's cool. So Uranus in Scorpio in the 6th house for Aries. I have a feeling that there's some very unique ways of going about doing things in like an organizational sense. So the things that you're doing may be very much like if you do them in a unique way, you'll benefit a lot at this time. So pay attention to what you're doing on the day-to-day and do it slightly different. Or maybe look around to people around you who are doing things in their unique way, because that might actually be very beneficial for you. So yeah, so 6th house, just the way you go about your day, take a look at your schedule and who you're interacting with. Pay attention who you talk to and about what. You may want to curate who you're interacting with for a day. That's really important. So try to give yourself a day where you're talking to people with whom you have very strong relationships and people who are very affirming of whatever's going on at this time. So just have your unique way around doing things. Okay, so let's talk about the astrology. I was ready to do tarot because in my head I've already done your astrology because that's why I was kind of pausing. I was thinking, oh, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So the full moon is happening in your 11th house. I just did Libra's reading, and yours is very similar in the sense that there could definitely, if you're going through slander, so gossip between friends, there could be a really turnaround with this full moon. So if someone has said something about you, or if you work in tech industry, the 11th house is always really important. And especially for you, Aries, because it's in Aquarius, which is the sign of technology. So the full moon that's happening on the 11th, there could be a real like coming out sort of energy, an energy that is like speaking the truth on whatever has happened or whatever has happened or is happening. And so that's an exciting thing to be aware of. And I feel like if you feel displaced from the truth in a social situation, that's really coming to the surface. So whatever secrets that have been happening around you are being clarified. So this is really connected with the conjunction that's happened in Taurus. It's basically like stand up for yourself or speak out for yourself, or with something that you want to achieve at this time. This is a really good time to assert yourself in a public setting. And I think that at this time you'll come across as but you'll come across as quite vulnerable. One of the challenges that your sign kind of is a part of your sign is that when you show up with confidence, you really intimidate other people. And that's not a bad thing. It's just people read your confidence because your confidence shines. So when you're showing confidence, then people can sometimes feel intimidated, and then you'll get lots of weird reactions from it. But this is showing the your vulnerabilities, your personality. This does not mean that you're interacting with others and moping. Just people, as they see you speaking your truth, the lens that's over their eyes is seeing your humility and seeing your forthrightness and seeing your vulnerabilities. Excuse me. So I just feel like you're being interpreted in a very sympathetic way. So you're coming across as like, and not that you're not that way at all. You're one of my favorite signs because you have this real genuine honesty about you. However, I feel like, yes, the energy with which you're seen at this time is very humble and vulnerable and approachable and non-threatening, and it's their problem that they feel threatened by it. That's what the stress. I don't want to say that your confidence is negative in any way, but people are people, and people have all sorts of different confidence issues, and that can really, undermine their progress or whatever. So and they can try to undermine yours through it. So this full moon has you coming out and presenting yourself to others. And this is somehow locked in on potential goals and growth. You're leading up to on the 18th of August could be a very successful moment for you, especially if there's been a lot happening around work or money. So pay attention to that and ride that wave because it's a really good trine. Remember, we've been talking about your success at work for a while now, and we've just been on this roller coaster ride for you in terms of success. But I think that this is one of those high points, and they're going to become rarer and rarer now. So really embrace whatever change this full moon brings. The full moon itself is in your 11th house, as I said. It's just connection with others and that humility. And so there's this kind of, the moon is almost in a sextile to Chiron. I mean, technically it is, but it's a loose sextile. So there is definitely that sort of approachability about you. So if you're trying to make millions, but you need other people's support, this is the time for it, Aries. Okay. So let's take a look at your cards. So we have the Knight of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries. And then we have the Nine of Cups, which is Jupiter in Pisces. And then we have the Hermit, which is Virgo. Okay, so I have a feeling that there is somebody's coming to, it just feels as though maybe you're talking to a Virgo, but it feels as though you're potentially the Virgo in some situations, and someone is coming to you with good news, or you're bringing good news to a Virgo. So there's this from a place in which you're situationally alone, you might have more people around you. There may be more around you at this time, or potential for growth. Let's see the next message. We have the Six of Swords, and then we have the Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups. And then we have the Two of Wands. Okay. So I have a feeling that this full moon is going to be a big bridging moment for you, from any misunderstandings that will get addressed to people seeing a different side of you. Somebody, if you're leaving a situation, someone around you may realize that. They may see like, oh, Aries is leaving very, very soon. And they may extend to you an olive branch or say something nice to you to kind of connect with you. Maybe somebody is wanting you to go visit them. Somebody's looking for you to go visit them potentially. But I feel like this full moon for you is very much a bridge. It's a bridge to other people. And in your mindset of what you want to achieve, Aries, this is bridging the gap between yourself and others. It's an exciting moment. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope that was clear. I just felt like it was a bit of a scattered energy, but sorry about that. Okay, so next sign, please, and it's Scorpio. Hey, Scorpio, welcome to the channel. Let's take a look at your astrology, not Sagittarius. Scorpio. Okay, so let's see. First and foremost, so we're about halfway through. This is taking very long today. That's okay. Okay, so we have Saturn in Aquarius, so that's the energy it's in now. So Saturn is in Aquarius, which for you is the 4th house. Pressure out. Oh, and you have Saturn and Aquarius in the 4th house. That's where the dice was rolled. Okay, so Saturn in Aquarius in the 4th house, and then we have Saturn in Aquarius in the 4th house for the full moon. Definitely things to do with home and family that are becoming transcendent, that are coming into their own. I really like this energy. For some of you, that might be difficult. If there's a big problem, it might have to be a lot to work through. But there's also great truth that comes to you at this time. When we have the moon in these positions, right, it's much different than the sun. It has much to do with a nuanced perspective. So something that feels like in and of itself, that becomes in and of itself in some way. And so you might be really feeling aligned with someone else at home, with your family members. There may be a truth that is understood between the two of you with this full moon. I really like this. And so maybe something has begun for you in terms of relationships, and there's going to be a transcendent moment by the 18th in which the moon visits Mars and Uranus and the North Node. So there will be some kind of something that began on about July 22nd is going to come full circle. You may come to realize how another person feels. You and another person might find very fundamental understanding with each other. This is a relationship builder sort of transit. It could be a breaker, because it could, if the relationship is flawed and not working, this energy is going to move really quickly through it. So it can push two people apart. But I think that I would like to see it in a more positive way. I would like to see it more as coming together or learning and coming into catharsis and understanding where the other person is from, and like elevating their understanding or elevating their kind of internalizing of their relationship with whoever it is that they're dealing with. I think you're having great influence from your work at this time. Your work environment, your social environment at work is really being positive and empowering you to, like, if you feel hesitant to talk to family members about an issue, this energy might really encourage you to speak up. Or to talk with a partner or with your husband or wife about circumstances. Situations at work may incentivize you to actually try to bridge that connection. On the 15th is really nice also, because that's when Mercury reaches its exaltation point. That only happens once a year, sometimes 3 times if a Mercury retrograde is over it. Next year, we'll see that. We'll see 3 times that Mercury retrograde hits this point, but this year only once. And so that's exciting because, again, communication with others will be very fulfilling for you at this time, Scorpio. And I think that you'll really come into realization about where you stand with others. With this energy here, this is really coming up for all the signs, even though it's not a full moon energy in and of itself. There could be someone there may be a situation around you that feels hostile, that makes you feel uncomfortable, which forces you to have communication with people who you trust. And it's going to really help you bridging your relationships with those individuals. So there's a very introspective moment. For some of you, you're recognizing your feelings. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I go against how I feel about a situation, and I go against myself, and then it keeps on hurting or being difficult because I keep on trying to neglect addressing the issue. And so with the South Node here, I think that you're going to, in some way, with the South Node here, you're going to do a lot of, this is like introspection to decide how you feel about it and feel great incentive to act on that. The moon was with the South Node on August 5th. And so an event around August 5th may have brought up issues that made you really feel about how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your situation, and what you are going to do something about it, how you're going to do something about it. So you may be having very powerful conversations as you come to realize what's important to you, what you want to bring into your life. It's a very, very nice energy, very, very introspective, and very much demanding a lot from you in terms of self-awareness, but hopefully really helping self-realization through. Okay, so we have the Four of Swords. So take some rest. That's very important. Take some rest, relax a little bit. Maybe something wants your attention again. Someone, not something. Maybe someone wants your attention. Maybe you've heard from somebody, or there's a real sincere reconnection here. I love this card. This is such a summer card. So beautiful, right? Or maybe Taurus season. Such a beautiful card in this deck. This is the Morgan Greer Tarot. It's beautiful. Okay, so yeah, so there's a reconnection, a very subtle connection. And then I think that you need to take some time to decide about which way you're actually going to decide to go. But I think that there is this moment of transcendence and understanding who's your ally, who's your friend, who sees the circumstances from the same perspective as you, who is supportive of you, who cares about you, who wants to hear what's going on for you. So it's that real kind of choosing the right person, the right ally, the right advocate. Here is the next message. We have the Nine of Wands, okay? And then we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is Jupiter. And then we have the Four of Pentacles, which is Sun in Capricorn. Some really good things are changing for you, and then there's a period in which you're meant to wait. So all this stuff is going to happen now, and then you're meant to wait and hold off for things to come into themselves. Something very fortunate is coming for you, Scorpio. A very good change in fortune and improvement of circumstances. Just hold and wait. Hold your power and wait to see what comes of all this. It really feels as though don't push too hard. Don't change things. Welcome in the change. And welcome in the change. Have those powerful conversations. See, I think people need to talk. I think that's what it seems like. It feels like, you have your introspective moment, you have your inner work, and then you have to let them sort of figure out and talk amongst themselves so that they can bring to you whatever information you're needing from them or you want from them. So in other words, you're having a powerful connection with one or two people, especially family members, and there's a real bonding that's going over circumstances that have come up. But then in terms of life events, say your piece. I'm not saying don't talk on things, but I think in terms of instigating change right now or making change, you want to pay attention and be patient so that you can respond later. And I think that what you're bringing to the table is unique, right? In partnerships and relationships. It's out of the box. It's different than out of the box thinking, right? It's different than what people expected. So if there's multiple people that you're interacting with, whether you know them well or not, they need to kind of talk amongst themselves. It's almost like, imagine being a salesman and going into a business and saying, hey, I have this wonderful gadget here. It will really improve your business. They may say no up front, but they may need to go talk to their management team and figure out things behind the scenes. And I think it's going to be very much in your favor. It's going to lead to very good outcomes. So I don't think self-confidence is an issue here. I hope it's not. And if it is, then please address that. Just be very authentic and an eagle state. Speak of yourself and welcome. It's a safe time for you to be out there with others. So, okay. So here is the next message. We have the High Priestess, which is Virgo. Hey, Virgo. These cards throw me because they have different associations. So let's roll the dice for Virgo. I'll just switch the chart. So Virgo, you guys got Uranus in Gemini. Very fun. Uranus in Gemini. That's coming up next, 2026, 2025, 2026. Uranus and Gemini in the 11th house. I love these planets in the 11th house. So this is very socially, a great social improvement for you, Virgo. It's very similar to that energy that we saw for Libra. It's very socially like active. And if you feel a lot of Virgo, I'm a Virgo, if you guys don't know, hi. So a lot of people who I interact with who are Virgos, they say the same thing, like, you know, socially, Virgos have had it rough. It's been a lot of being left in the dust by people who should have never left you in the dust. So there's this kind of, maybe not even for a bad reason. You can see this in terms of the chart, because ignore these three transits, which are the inner planets, but all the planets are as far away from Virgo as humanly possible right now. So all placements in Virgo, Libra, Leo may be feeling like half of the year or a good portion of the year, nothing's going on in terms of transits right over us. So that translates into a little bit of wantonness or a little bit of isolation from other people and things happening. So when we see Uranus in Gemini in the 11th house, which is starting in 25 and 26, I'm looking at Uranus entering into Gemini in your 10th house, Virgo. I'm really looking forward to this. I think this will be a very big boon for you in terms of work, in terms of career. I think it's very exciting, whatever's coming up. And so this cross section of the 11th house, which is right next in Cancer, it just feels like very socially fluid for you, very many new connections, probably new ways of doing work. So if you're thinking that your job will not last forever, this is a very good sign that you may technology. Yeah, so pick up your coding skills, pick up your tech skills. This might be a very big moment for you in terms, and all through networks, all through not computer networks, but networks of people. So this may have begun at this time. It's at this time, it's a whole new you. It's a brand new world with new people and new situations. I think that many Virgos, when they're saying that they feel isolated and all this stuff, they're still on that old timeline that people have been talking about. So Virgo is very much on the old timeline still. And so they're not, or maybe they're on the no, they're very much on the old timeline still. And so be patient, Virgo. Things are breaking through for you. Just hold on and be patient. The full moon itself is in your 6th house, which you rule, but in your chart happens in the 6th house, in Aquarius. I have a feeling that in some way there's like a very truthful conversation with not someone who you're particularly close with, but there's like a correction, or there's some kind of like speaking from the heart and an issue, somebody keeping the truth from you and you saying, hey, that's the way it is. So you finally speaking your truth about it, or you in some way asserting what you believe to be true in a circumstance or situation. This could be under a lot of pressure for where you want to go in life. So there could be something that's calling your name in the direction you want to go. And so you may be very adamant, and you may not be as conciliatory as you may have been in the past, because this conjunction with Uranus and Mars and the North Node may be very much making you feel that you have to achieve something. And there's this, I don't know if you watched the beginning of this video, but it's this kind of tunnel vision that this energy is bringing up. And like I said in the intro, the astrology part, I'm going to do a video dedicated on this. This is very important time in your life, Virgo. So this conjunction is really important, and we'll talk about it in the next video or so. I just wanted to do this full moon because this is going to be the cathartic moment. So this is you being less conciliatory, which means that if someone is doing something that's displeasing to you, you may have let it go in other situations, but not here. I think that you're very much like from a deep personal space, you're like, no, this is not okay. Like, it's not bending the rules. It's like, not letting someone slide with the rules, or not stepping out of the way because someone wants to walk through first. You stand your ground, and you don't allow this. You're kind of adamant that you're not going to be as flexible as you normally are in order to be conciliatory with others. So yeah, so definitely a strong-handed in this energy, Virgo. And I think that has to do with your goals and where you want to go with things. So yeah, whenever this energy comes up, this is just like a little disclaimer. This energy will make you feel this way, very intense, and it will last through the rest of August. And so when you're feeling this way, and there will be nuance to this, just whenever there's a strong energy around us, yes, the energy is good and you should go in this way and ride the wave or whatever. But whenever it reinforces a strong aspect of our personality, we need to be very, very careful so as not to steamroll someone else or as to overpower others. You don't want to burn your bridges by being the wrong way. Something that may temporarily work for one thing may not work for everything else. So know that your energy is very strong right now. And even though you don't feel like you want to compromise at all at this time, make sure that you ask yourself the question, because you're going to be prone to not compromise. So ask yourself, is it really the best decision to not compromise before you don't compromise, right? So the energy is strong to encourage you to not compromise. And you may want to ask yourself, meantime, like, is this the actual best decision long term? Okay, so here are your cards. We have the Three of Swords. Somebody betrayed you, or somebody really treated you in a way that made you feel bad. But I think something good is going to come out of it, which is the Ace of Cups. Sometimes when people treat us bad, there's other people who are watching. And so that will lead to a positive outcome. Or the Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Scorpio. It's not, there's other people watching with whom you have, when someone treats us bad, there's other people who are watching who see the virtue in whatever is going on. So if that's what's happened to you, which means that if somebody insulted you, be it your partner or someone else, someone that you're interacting with, there may be other people that you may not be aware of it, but that situation may have brought up thoughts or ideas for others, and they may in some way now feel very well predisposed to you. And then we have the Seven of Cups, which means that it may not be entirely clear yet what is going on or who is who and what is what. So be patient, because you may have more allies, Neptune in the 7th house, than you think. Then we have the Sun in Gemini, which is the 10 of Swords. This card is so dark in this deck, because not only is he stabbed by swords, but it's snowing and yeah, it's dark. Okay, so then we have the Six of Pentacles. That's the Moon in Taurus. So if you watch the astrology at the beginning, I really recommend that you do. This full moon leads into August 18th, when Mars and Uranus and the North Node will join here. By then I'm going to do the focus video, but just know that things are coming out of the circumstances that happened. And then we have the Eight of Pentacles. This is Sun in Virgo. So this may be August 22nd when Sun enters Virgo, but there's really good, constructive, tangible outcomes that come out of whatever's happened. So like I said, there's going to be tension right throughout this month, and it won't ease up for the rest of the year. But I think that a break in the tension may happen around August 18th or maybe even August 15th. Really speak your truth, Virgo, on August 15th, because that's when Mercury will enter 15th degree of Virgo. And that's the exaltation point of Virgo. So I think that there's a bit of a turnaround. I think you're hurt about something. That's what's coming up. I think that you're emotionally hurt or feeling betrayed, like someone didn't treat you well. But I think with this full moon, it almost feels like there's a good outcome out of whatever's happened. And I think that you have strong allies as you've gone through this that are not quite apparent yet. So be patient. And overall, the trend is that you're in a dead timeline and you're moving into some really cool place, I think, by 2025, 2026. You may not be physically moving. That's not what I'm saying. But like new people, new new vibes, like people who have nice energy, not people that are, you know, that's why you're getting this kind of energy. You're in a dead timeline interacting with zombies or interacting with dead things, right? So yeah, so like people that are not literally dead people. I mean, like people that dead timeline, things that are grayed out, things that are done, right? Okay. So next sign is Sagittarius. Hey Sagittarius, let's take a look at your chart. These cards are cool for using them for the order because I like the designs on them. The rest of the cards are very repetitive. So they're like, you know, repetitive. It's the same card. So I kind of get bored of using them, but I like the design of the deck itself. I just wish it had more variety. Look at this one, the two. And then they have these weird water. Two of Cups is Moon in Cancer. That's usually Venus in Cancer, which Venus is here as well. But yeah, just they're cool cards, but they just get kind of repetitive. So I just like using them for the order for the signs. Okay. Okay, so we have Moon in Leo. This is the first time the moon has come up. So this does not mean you have to have Moon in Leo. This is kind of like an energetic signature for this reading, some insight as to what's going on. And then we have in the second house, to me that suggests that there's some kind of financial idea that comes to mind that you want to act on. So you're coming to realize something that you want to achieve. You come to realize something that you want to achieve, or you know, you realize the trajectory, or you realize how you want to make money in some way. So you have a financial idea that comes up that's really strong. And Pluto is finishing up his transit of your second house. This is a time in which a lot of people who have Pluto in key placements like this will have this transcendent moment, will have this spot realization, and that's very exciting. So for growth and transcendence. Okay, so this may actually, let's keep going with that. So with Pluto at the end of your second house and this little suggestion here, to me, like Moon in Leo is very imaginative. It's a very imaginative placement, very creative mindset. So something creative is coming into your mind that's a really good idea, something that involves work. And then you may have this, because Mercury by that time that it's in the later part of Virgo will be like August 18th or so. There may be a moment in which you feel very strongly that you need to act, and the sun will be at the end of Leo, so at the top of your chart. That's going to be such a great day for you to put into action some direction that you want to go. So it will be very, very helpful in terms of the direction that you want to go. And the full moon for you has a lot to do with letting go of the past and letting go of what's near you. So overall, the trend, I feel as though you're breaking out. I remember doing your readings like 2 months ago, and we were talking about how you're like a super social sign, right? But you never really wanted to go out. You just wanted to stay in. And I think that that's what was incubating. Whatever is breaking through now, your great idea is coming up. And I think that so Virgo got all these messages about dead timelines, but you're getting like a message about like your environment is dead, if that makes sense. It's not necessarily your timeline that's dead, but what's dead is like what's around you at this time, like what's around your house or what's around your neighborhood. You just don't feel connected with it at this time. So with the full moon, you may in some way separate or gain distance or something like that. Okay, so we have the 5 of Wands next. And then we have the 7 of Pentacles. There's financial issues concerning other people that are distressing, the way they're managing money or something like that. You have money that's going well, and it's going to open up the door for you in wonderful directions. This is the time of year in which a lot growth is possible because Mercury, Sun, and Venus are usually at the top of your chart. And then we have the Two of Cups. Look at this, very hopeful. This is Venus in Cancer, as we just said. There's a mixed feelings of like having a great sympathy and compassion towards someone, but then also knowing what's right for you or what path you need to take for yourself. And then we have the Magician. Okay. Yeah, to me, the Magician's Mercury, which is right here in your 10th house, so action towards work. But I often attribute Magician to your sign, Sagittarius also. I do feel like Magician is a very good, it's a very good, okay, sorry, I had to check something. So with the sound. So Magician is like a very good indicator of you taking a step. I just feel like you're going to move towards something very quickly. Some of you may have had relationship breakups in the last couple weeks or in the last while, maybe since August 1st. There could have been like a tension between what you wanted, how you felt about the person, which may have been actually great, but there's been like a question about whether they were good for you or whether they were not a match, but like whether they were helpful to the overall picture. I think overall at this time, Sagittarius is going to feel very independent. So if you're like single and you want to mingle, this might be a hard time for you to settle down with anyone. But just right now, just through August, I think that there's going to be some real opportunities out there that are going to spark your interest, and you're going to be moving towards them really quickly, which means that, you're going to move towards them very quickly, which means that not everybody's going to want to go in the same direction as you all the time, right? So being a little bit on your own at this time is going to be good for you towards your goals. And I think that you feel uncomfortable with how other people behave. I think that you're kind of like questioning whether there's compassion and sympathy there, but I think that there's like a distancing that you feel towards them. Okay. So let's see the next energy. We have Temperance, which is in this case Taurus. So I almost read for Sagittarius again. Okay, hi Taurus. So you're coming up. Oh, hold on. I messed up. There we go. Sorry. So let's turn on your chart and let's take a look at what's going on. Okay, so for you, this is huge. I wonder how you guys have been doing. So check in with me and tell me how things are going on. Sun in Scorpio in the 10th house. That's super cool. This could really indicate that there is a potential for career opportunity. There's just trust your instincts at this time in terms of work and career. Also, I think that at this time you're being really sought out after by others. Like people really like you, and you have this. You're with the vibe. If you're really into fashion and things, I would assume that Tauruses are looking great this year in general between the North Node, but especially now, I feel like you could be leading the way in fashion and like being really cutting edge. I don't know like the fashion, astrology for like I should do that sometime, but like who's wearing what and who's designing what and how that correlates to astrology. It would be a really interesting project, right? But yeah, so I think that you're really hip with it. If you like fashion, I think that you're cutting edge, and I think you're liking things that people will like in the future now. So you're kind of high profile, and people see that about you, like you're with it, and it's beyond just fashion. It's your ideas and your thoughts. You're just picking up on nuance of life and, moving along with it in a positive direction. The full moon is in your 10th house. So that's where the dice roll said it was, except the sun in Scorpio energy lands in your 7th house. So it's a little different. But the full moon in the 10th house, if something at work has been holding you back, this might be a moment of transcendence. This might be a moment where, whatever's been going on at work, kind of, especially if there's been like blockages or something getting in the way, there's a way to get around that with this full moon. And you might want to wait until the moon reaches Taurus on August 18th for the real outcome of whatever this brings. Although these changes for you with the full moon on August 11th might be quite public, which means that it may be very, front and center anyway. Irregardless if you're a man or a woman, I think that you're really beginning a time of really good, relationship time. And I think that that's really going to be growing for you over the next several months, 4 months, essentially. So right into the fall, I think that you're going to be up and up in terms of, social, connection with others and mingling and things like this. And if Mars moving into the second house, you're just going to really improve from here. There's going to be a real sense of improvement of things. And Mars in the second house in Gemini is a long transit this year, and it's going to be very good for you financially. There's going to be something that comes up for you financially that's going to take a lot of time to work out, but it's going to really elevate your circumstances and your situation. So there's definitely a lot of things going on. In terms of the sun in Scorpio in your 7th house, you are continuing to distance yourself from past relationships and how they talk to you and how they conditioned you. So how other people talk to you and what they helped you believe about yourself. You may be distancing yourself from the unhealthy attachments or whatever it is that was not helpful in the past that people said to you. And I think that at this time, trying to convince a Taurus that what they're thinking or what they're doing is undermine them is a very bad idea. I think you're very, very determined, and I think that this is a great time for you to really know what you want, in which direction you want to go. Don't refer to other people so much in what they say. We have the 3 of Cups that kind of flopped over. Reunions. It does feel as though someone might reach out to you from the past. It's almost like an old boyfriend or girlfriend who talks to you now the way they talked to you then. And you're like, you said those things to me and I put up with it. Or that's not a reflection of my reality. And then just because they were saying it before, you believed it, or you were okay with it. But now it's no, that's not me, So I think that there's a very separating yourself from others. And one thing about Scorpio suns that I'll say is that they're very good to understand their internal reality. So they're very self-aware in terms, many of them, not all, but many of them are very self-aware and very aware of their internal reality. So there's this moment of, this is who I am and this is what I represent. And I think that you're with that energy now. So we have Scorpio again, which is the Death card. Sudden changes and transformations. I don't think you're even noticing if there's changes around you at this time. We have the Knight of Swords, Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. Secondary transit in air. And then we have the 5 of Pentacles. So I think that someone's looking towards the, King of Pentacles, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. Secondary transit in fire. And then we have the moon. I want to see all the cards before it just feels as though, we have 10 of Cups. Somebody in the interim may be feeling hurt about the way that you're handling things, but it's going to work out in the long term. I think that maybe it's a mix of people not communicating well or people not talking so well about what's going on. The problem with not talking about what's going on is that when you're missing time, and then when you finally do talk and clarify things, you just feel dumb for not having spoken earlier. And so Mercury will be in your 5th house on August 15th. So if you feel like there's a separation between you and someone else at this time, wait until August 15th, because that is when really good communication will happen. And sometimes we get busy, sometimes we don't have a chance to talk, but I feel like everything's going to work out, and everything's going to work out, and everything's going to be fine. So be patient with the process. That's 100%. Be patient with the process and don't worry about it. And if you are pushing ahead with your goals, know that someone close to you might be having a hard time with it. Not in a way to distract your goals or keep you back from anything, but I do feel like someone might be feeling tense or unheard or something like that. So I know that you care about your friends and people that you're around. So through this time, you may want to, in some way, reach out and make a personal connection. Okay. So let's see the next sign. We have 2 more to go. This took a long time. I was surprised. I was expecting this to go really quickly. Capricorn and an Ouroboros. Let's take a look at the energy here. Capricorn. I have no idea what the last sign is. Leo? Have we done? Yeah, we did Leo. Okay, Capricorn first. Hi, Capricorn. Let's take a roll at the dice and see what energy you get. So we have South Node Virgo. That's coming up in a couple years. And we have in the 5th house, South Node Virgo in the 5th house. There's something to do with helping others from the past that you may be releasing at this time. So there may be, like how you were helpful in a relationship in that time and what the consequences of that were. When I say consequences, maybe not necessarily negative, but I do feel as though you may be feeling as though you had been used by someone in the past. And so that has led you to be cautious towards people now, and maybe that coping strategy or coping mechanism has turned into a toxic one. Okay, so we have Capricorn energy and we have the 5th house. This is where the conjunction happened. Something's pushing you really quickly towards a relationship with someone else. Be careful of Lilith. She's still in Cancer and is actually in a sextile to the North Node. This does not mean that the person you're moving towards is like difficult or bad in any way, but this person, the circumstances around that may be chaotic, and that chaos may in some way distract the relationship or give problems to it in some way. The full moon wants your attention with regard to financial stuff. And so there's 2 parts to this reading. The first one is an emphasis towards relationships, a push towards connecting with someone or bringing your attention. Someone's coming across. This is very attraction-based energy. So when I say relationships, I often mean whatever kind of relationship you have going on, from friendships to other. But this is very much a like, I think they're hot kind of energy. So there's a real attraction there. However, I do feel like it may be unstable at times, or there may be an aspect of it that could take time, which is important because that's your moon in the 2nd house, your full moon in the 2nd house may want you to really focus on a potential or an opportunity. Some of you might be writing some kind of documentation to bring to others. So make sure that your relationship stuff does not affect your goals or what you're trying to achieve. You may be provoked or tantalized by this person because of past circumstances. So like childhood things or past life stuff. So there may be like a real, when I say karmic, I don't mean they're your karmic, but there may be a karmic connection, like a deeper connection that's touching upon a lot of things. So you want to make sure that that's not overwhelming the things that you have to achieve right now, because those things that you achieve are what's really going to get to you to where you're going. I also have a feeling that if you put too much emphasis in your relationship at this time, this attraction, on the flip side of it, you might be regretful of having missed an opportunity. So make sure that you're not missing your opportunities for relationships, for romance, for attraction, because it might be just a very intense attraction at this time. Okay, so we have the 8 of Pentacles, Sun in Virgo. And then we have 7 of Wands, sticking up for yourself. And then we have the Magician. Okay. And then we have the 9 of Cups. And then we have the Fool, which is Uranus. And then we have the Ace of Cups, which is a new beginning. Okay, I like this for you, Capricorn. So I think your relationship's gonna go places. This is the most romantic spread that I've seen. I think do your work and hold off on this energy. There's a lot going on here for you in terms of love. And like I said, it was more of an attraction. You know, I'm easygoing on like defining what a relationship is. And so I think that for you, there's a real desire there, but I think that I think it will last. I think it will wait. If you're careful and slow with it, I think that it will wait, and I think that it will come around. It will not necessarily come around. It will work itself out, or that it will maintain. You remember this conjunction, which we'll talk about separately, is something that is pushing us towards something that's going to be around for a while, for a long time. And so there may be a very, like, it's not, you're not going to, wink and blink and, and it's going to go away. It feels as though someone's coming through for you or coming to you. But first and foremost, make sure to take care of your work. Make sure to address the financial demands that are coming up for you with this full moon. And then you can go play by August 18th or so. August 15th, there may be like a deadline for you that you have to meet. That's when you will really shine. So if you have an interview if somebody's calling you for a job interview, say, can we have August 15th? Because that's going to be a time when you're going to really present your best. And yeah, you're going to step up and present your best. And I think that you're going to come up in your best, and you're going to translate meaning that they're going to see you, in your best element. I think that you're going to really set a good impression at this time on other people beyond relationships. This is a time when you're going to authentically act with the direction that you want, and then you'll find success and new relationships, and things are coming to you. I feel like somebody might be pulling you towards them in a romantic sense or in a very friendly way as well. So don't hold back at this time. Really step up your game, and I think you're really a nice time for you to achieve the things that you want. And I think engage with all of it as much as you can. Okay, so I hope you guys have a good month ahead. I'll be back with more, but just for now. So Cancer. I was like, who's the last sign? It's kind of hard when I do like 2 hours of readings and then, have to like remember who's the sign that I missed, because it all kind of blends together. But Cancer moon. Okay, so that's cool. The full moon in Aquarius isn't like the most natural full moon for Cancer, but it's not bad. It's in your 8th house, signaling change. Straight up, I'll tell you guys, and this is not to be disparaging, this may be a time in which you end a relationship that is on its way out. And because Saturn's been in there, it might be a heavy deal. So you may have been through a lot with this person up until now. So if that relationship is coming to an end, it's a part of like the whole trajectory. And I think that for you, the emphasis is really building in a good direction and a new direction between Mars and Uranus and the North Node. So look forward to that. So we have Neptune and Libra. I think I had this come up and I couldn't figure out if Neptune was in Libra in the 60s. I think that's when it was there. Some other sign had this. This does not mean you have to have been born then or have this in your chart. This is just a astrological marker. If you do, that's a plus, but I'm kind of reading this energy. So Neptune and Libra in the 5th house, and you have the South Node in the 5th house in Scorpio, and Neptune is in your 9th house. I have a feeling that you need to try a lot of new friends at this time, Cancer. I think that there's a lot of people with whom you need to interact with in the next little while to find out who's best. So I think that you may actually choose some friends that are going to remind you of the past, some new friends. There's like a real mixed energy here of people that you're interacting with. So some people are going to, you know, how do I say this? Some people that are going to, like really stick, and some people that you're going to move past. So that's an energy that you can move forward with. It's going to be an energy for the next year or so of you really going through a lot of different friends, a lot of different contacts, and some of them are going to be good and some of them are going to be, so be prepared to, Cancers do have a way of sticking to people that they meet. So be careful with sticking too much. Be really prepared to let go and explore. And this is a wonderful time for you to explore. The full moon itself, yeah, it feels like an ending to something. It feels like a bit of an ending for you in terms of a relationship. I have a feeling that there's a lot for you around the corner. And I think that, like we've been talking about dead timelines, dead spaces, you might be in a dead relationship. This may not be a bad situation, but maybe the sex has really kind of become, you know, not cute anymore or not good anymore, or it may have like become like tepid, not hot. So yeah, so just you know if that is relating to you, or something to do with other people and money. If you're sharing money with other people, it may have become burdensome for you. So where something was positive, like sharing an apartment before was helpful, now it becomes a burden that you are willing to spend extra money on so you don't have to go through. I think that be careful with Venus in the second house, who enters your second house on August 11th in Leo, because there is a tendency to overspend. So make sure that you're not throwing money away or in an unhealthy way. Make sure that you're spending it in a way that's constructive for you. But I do feel as though you're getting really pushed out in a new direction in terms of friends and in terms of people you're interacting with. Definitely in a new direction with people with friends and people you're interacting with. And so yeah, so that's the main show. I think that that's the main part of what's going on for you. That you're getting your energy over a medium term, which is a couple months to a year, is going to be really redirected towards new people, new contacts, and in some way you might be dealing with a degree of, you know, things of the past. Many of you have completed now the majority of your Pluto in Capricorn transit events, which means that for many of you, whatever came up with Pluto in Capricorn has finished now, which is like the despotic relationships or, you know, power imbalances between you and others. And so you're in the holding zone before Pluto enters into Aquarius. And that's a big thing for you because it's been really up and down. So everything's not starting yet, but over the next couple years, and maybe even throughout this whole year, you're branching out, and you should do that. It's the foundation of your new reality, your new future. Okay, so let's see what your tarot cards are saying for this full moon. I'm glad I did this early. I've been doing it so late, so I'm glad to do it early. So we have the Hermit, which is Taurus, or the Hierophant, not the Hermit. And then we have the Three of Pentacles. Okay, that's Mars and Capricorn. And then we have the Six of Swords. So someone had left your life, or maybe you've completed university or something. Maybe there's a completion point with your education for some of you, and you're heading in an unknown direction. Be patient with your career, especially if you're straight out of school. It might take some time for it to really settle, but it's going to be really good when it does. Let's see. We have the King of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, secondary transits and fire. And then we have the Gemini lovers. That's the first time that's come up. That's in your 12th house, Cancer. Let's see. And then we have the, ooh, look at this. Cancer's up to hot stuff. So we have Queen of Cups, lovers, and the King of Cups. What's going on there, Cancer? You know better than I do. Maybe you've met someone. Look, I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at this. Sorry. Maybe you've met someone. Maybe something's going on. Maybe there's like a real connection in terms of relationships. Maybe you've actually met somebody after a period of really uninteresting relationships. That's maybe what's going on. And if so, congratulations with this. What's coming up for you around the corner is another boost in social connections. So I think that you at this time with this full moon, you might be really leaving something behind, really leaving your immediate home or environment. Okay? You guys, we made it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make the energy real. I hope you guys have a good full moon. I'll be back with more before the full moon. I just really wanted to put this out right now, but I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you and take care. Have a nice day. Bye.